Hello, everyone. Fantastic. That's where I'm going to share with you the flaws of school. Yeah. So first and first, school is an institution to force people into becoming workforce from the get-go. You might have heard from the last video I've already told about. And it's not for accumulating your riches, but it's actually for make you busy being broke. School is not there for make you rich, but for make you busy being broke. So many people who are graduate school and working right now as a workforce, the biggest excuse what you have to work on them is I have no time. But let me tell you that the biggest entrepreneurs, they have time. They have freaking time. Even freaking Elon Musk have time. Why are you telling you have no time? Can you compare yourself with Elon Musk? Yes, no. Elon Musk has several companies, or let's say Richard Branson has 500 companies. He has still time for his family, for everything. You see, he has more time than you as a normal employee. And every big entrepreneur has more time than you, always. And this is actually the biggest feature. What is made? It made us. School is there to make us what? As I told before, we have to be workforce. In the first place, workforce, right? When we're workforce, then it's not made for make us rich, but it makes us just, we have to be busy every single day, and we have to be what? To keep us under control, to reach something which is not there, broke. Broke and busy. This is two slogan of school, which people are not understanding that they are there. School is not giving us knowledge. This is just giving us being broke in school. In fact, we have never learned something from school. We have never learned something from school. Have you learned something in school? Let me tell you. And I'm telling you not. You haven't learned a shit. Because most information that we get out, there's 90% of are outdated, and you don't need it in everyday's life. But some people will say, hey, I do the mathematics and stuff like that. Okay, maybe math, but also with math, guys, if you don't use it right straight away in a school system, you haven't learned it. You haven't learned anything. Really, we haven't learned anything in school. Let me tell you, we haven't learned anything. Because guess what? School system is not there for mastery. The purpose for learning is mastery. Write this down. The purpose for learning is walking towards mastery. Okay? Mastery, guys, mastery. Not expanding your knowledge, expanding your horizon of knowledge. No, it's not knowledge. It is just collecting information. School is just a institution that shows you how you can collect information. That is, it makes you just like a swan. It makes you like a sponge to pick up all this information. This is the only thing that you get from school. I'm telling you. But you say, okay, friends and stuff like that. No, you don't learn friendship from school. You don't learn it. You don't learn friendship and leadership and stuff like that from school. You don't learn it simply. You don't learn the things. If you would learn, everyone will be a leader. Nobody has any problems with communication. Like in Japan, people have so many problems with communication with each other. How's it come? When we have learned in school. Indeed, we haven't learned it. We haven't learned anything. And those kind of things that we are learning at school, you can learn it everywhere where you have a group, basically. It hasn't to be a school. Okay? Now, the school doesn't teach you it doesn't specialize you on a craft. It doesn't specialize in a craft. You cannot master anything when you are going through school. You get confronted with just bullshit information that you 90% do not need. And you have to pick up with your brain. If you don't do it, you get bad remarks. But let me tell you, mastery means permanent progress. You progress permanently. In school, you don't progress at all. Maybe you go deeper inside of those things that you have learned, this information that you have picked up, but not really. But some people say, okay, you have learned in school how to write a letter. You don't need it. If you have the money, you can hire someone to write a freaking letter. Okay? You don't need those things. You don't need no skills that you get from school. You don't need it in your life at all. 90% of those skills, you just don't need them. You don't need them. Also, the knowledge that you get is not knowledge, this is just information that you just get up. You just get the freaking information bombarded in your brain. You have just to pick it up. Really, like being at school, I had always the perception of, hey, I'm a freaking hard disk. People who are, SSD or M.2, right? I'm a freaking hard disk. And I was always kind of complaining, say, dude, why you are treating pupils like a freaking hard disk? Because school is treating people like a hard disk. And just pick up information and then you have a test and you have just to provide the information during this test. This is only the thing that you get in school. Okay? And in school, when you graduated, what you get? Yeah, you get from a school system. It's just giving you a variety of information. And when you get into the job from the school, yeah, you get to the job, what will happen is you will acquire a job. And when you acquire a job, you will learn maybe a skill there. But the thing is, it's not really a skill that you learn in this job because you can just use it in this very industry or in this very facility that you work. Okay? In job, you don't acquire a skill. You acquire just also information and just maybe a skill that's just specialized for this one enterprise. Because many jobs, when you just try to kind of click the job, go to the next one, they don't pick you up. They say, hey, you have to go from the start. You cannot take your own credentials. Especially when it comes to normal worker. You are depending on your company. And your company is bankrupt. Tomorrow, you're on the street. You're freaking on the street. And and when you go to the next company, you have to start from the beginning. Nobody would count that you have worked for this big, huge company for 30 years. Nobody would count it. You will still start off in just being a freaking, how's it called? You will just clean up the toilet, stuff like that. You start up there. You start on the lowest again. When you are normal employed. Okay, we have some guys who are like lawyers, right? In Japan, we have the sensei, which is lawyers, doctors, and stuff like that, right? We have or some accountants. You might say like, okay, I'm this kind of industry I'm a lawyer. I'm really secure. Bullshit. You're not secure. Because in several years, such a profession like lawyer will no more exist. What will happen when your whole industry goes down? You cannot take your own credentials, put it to someone else. If you lie, you can become an accountant next day instead of with the same credential you had back then in the days. No, you will start from a freaking bottom. You will start maybe as a janitor. I have nothing against janitor, but you will start there. And when your lifestyle have already adjusted towards this kind of standard that you have as a lawyer, then your freaking spouse will say bye-bye. I don't want to live for someone who is broke or who is a janitor, used to be a lawyer. You see where it goes? So you guys, especially lawyers, doctors, you are dependent on what? On your freaking industry. I don't care what kind of industry you're in, you're dependent on it. You're dependent on the industry because you don't have a skill that you can apply towards every industry. You have to have skills, guys. If you want to really get there and be kind of secure, you need to have a skill. Like copywriting, for example, where you are truly can just pick it up, go to every industry and just take money from it. You can just apply it everywhere. No matter where, you can apply it. This is what a good skill is. Not a skill, okay, I know this kind of hundreds and thousands of paragraphs in my mind. This is not a skill. That's not a skill that you apply everywhere. You can apply it in your own industry, but nowhere else. Let's get real here, guys. Let's get real. I have nothing against, guys, that you are lawyers, that you are doctors. I love you guys. However, let's get real that your job is not secure. Many people are not aware of that your job is not secure. If you're thinking your job is more secure than a normal job, okay? But it's not that secure. Because with the technology that it rises up, it will also, when you one of these jobs, in several years, you might be on the street. So you have to thinking of acquire a skill that you will apply everywhere. So your financial situation becomes indestructible. Currently, it is destructible. Okay? Awesome. Another thing that we are actually doing at school, at schools, universities, we are not practicing craft, but 90% is bombarding ourselves with what's unnecessary theory that nobody wants to. Let me ask you just a simple question. When you learn how to ride a bike, just by reading books, watching YouTube, maybe some TikTok, or I don't know, maybe listening to music, how to ride a bike, but you have never touched a bike, will you ride then a freaking bike? Of course not. The moment you will just jump on a bike, your free balance will just go and you collapse and you will lay on the ground the first time you ride a bike, man. Because you don't use to balance it, right? I mean, of course you can ride a bike right now. But guess what? Normally, when you just have read books, how to ride a bike, would you ride a bike? Same goes for cars, guys. If you have no practice at all to riding a car, could you now ride a car? Just boom, I have installed in my brain I can ride a car, man. Like Matrix, boom, I have installed, I know what's Kung Fu. No, man. No way you can do it. No way you can do it. There's no way you can do it. Let me tell you that knowledge without practice is the same as ignorance. And guess what? At school we are learning ignorance. We're not learning knowledge, we are learning ignorance. Because we're not practicing what they are preaching there. But you say, okay, maybe, we are practicing how to solve this problem in math. It's not really problem solving what we're doing there. Right? We're not practicing their shit. Why? Because we are nothing moving there. Physically, nothing is moving. Yeah, maybe we are moving our own freaking pencil. But it's not really nothing will happen from it, from this action. when when you have actually solved this problem, like in math or something like that, right? And then, like, solve this quotation, stuff like that, and then in real, you see how this money is going from this to this, and you see that something is really moving, physically moving from place to place. This is when you learn. But until this movement is not there, you have learned the shit. But you know what's a good thing on school? I mean, it's a good thing how they are selling us. Actually, school is selling us that when we are just reproducing the information that we have saved up in our brain, like a freaking hard disk, that we get good remarks. Wow, we could get remarks. We have good remarks because we have written something down that we have saved up in our brain and just reproduced it. Whew, man, amazing. Right? And afterwards, when you've reproduced it, nothing has happened, but they will praise you because you got it. You feel good, you feel amazing. And this kind of brainwashery that is done at school makes people passive. People go rather, they go out to the gym, they go out things like swimming and stuff like that, instead of just go Netflix and chill. Why? Because of feeling like when you're seeing a documentary, they're seeing something new, something that must fascinate them. Just by watching them, this kind of new information, just by absorbing this new information, they are growing. Okay? This kind of illusion was imprinted in our mind by school. This was imprinted in our mind by school. I'm 100% honest with you guys. Really. Why people are freaking passive and not active? Because, and I myself also was pretty passive back then. I thought I was active, but I was passive as shit. Because I went to one course, another course, another course, another course. I learned a lot. I just absorbed information and made my notes, but I never implemented it. Maybe implemented 10% of everything I've learned in the last 4 years. Spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands, maybe. Tens of thousands, yeah. Not hundreds, but tens. This is what happened, guys. And like myself in the past, it is the same thing when you go to a freaking course. Tony Robbins, or something that you name it, right? And the problem is, it's not that these strategies that the coaches are teaching you are not working. But the problem is that you have that you were programmed in your mind by school. That when you just learn it or just save it up in your mind, like a freaking memory card, like a freaking, hard disk, you just saved it up and just can reproduce it. You have solution in your mind that you are growing. In fact, when you watch on your bank account, nothing changed. Nothing changed. And this is how the school, with the government, is producing people who are passive. From a get-go, watch yourself when you was a child. Watch your kids. Or kids from another person. How much energy does they have? They're learning every single day because they are using the environment. They're interacting with their environment. They're moving physically in the environment. This is how they are learning. They're not sitting there and just writing down some bullshit. No. They are implementing what they're learning right away. But we, as adults, we're just sitting with our asses in the chairs like myself right now, and we are just not moving at all. We're just thinking, okay, now I'm growing because I have the new information. This is so cool. And I'm not implementing it, but no, I don't care, because this is why, guys. Many entrepreneurs, write this down. This is why many entrepreneurs have just finished the middle school. You know why? You know why many big entrepreneurs have just finished the middle school? Because they could resist this kind of brainwashery that has happened at school. Picturing your picture, if you've done nothing, if you just have saved up the information, put it in your brain, and just review the information on a piece of paper, you get praised. Right? This is what we call an education system, guys. This is what we call education system. We get information thrown on into brain, and we just replying it, and the good you can good reply, aka the better of memory card, the faster your hard disk is, yeah, the better you can reply the information, you get the praise. Have you done anything? Have you learned anything? You learn nothing. And this is why people in the 60s and the 70s do not remember what they have learned in school. Because they haven't learned shit. I'm telling you. They have learned is shit because they done a shit. They have done nothing. Obviously, they done nothing. They just bombarded with information. Okay, I just take the information, I just suck it up, and I just give it on next test, and just prepare to clean my brain for the next test, so I can absorb the next information and really re-give it. This is the only process that we have learned. We haven't learned to get up our asses and implement this stuff. This is why school is freaking boring. No, but school is really fun. Bullshit, man. You're just bullshitting yourself, man. If you're telling yourself that school is not boring, look at higher grades, like people in Japan, and that some people are literally sleeping on classes because it's freaking boring. School is boring because it's just information input and output. It's nothing there. You learn nothing. Literally. School is not for learning. School is just to get information. But I think we have already so much information. We don't need this information right now, guys. We have the freaking internet. If you need information, go on freaking Wikipedia. We don't need to have a freaking encyclopedia in our brain. Nobody needs it. And some stuff that we learn at school that's not relevant right now. If something that you learn in school, you try to apply it now in a workplace, that will say, this is bullshit. Why I have to learn it? It was learned in school. No, man, it's now this and this. There's no upgrades. There's no updates. There's the same thing from 200 years ago. We're still learning this bullshit. Just realize that, guys. Now let's get to the solution. How you can get rid of this. First, guys, before you even implement anything, before you even pick up any techniques, I want you to understand that it's not your fault that you were bullshit by school. It's not your fault that you have been brainwashed by school. It's not your fault. It's simply not your fault. It's no one's fault. Okay? It's not your fault. However, you can do it with some. You have to realize that it was happening with you. And I don't want to see yourself as a freaking victim. No. I want you to realize that it is happening with you. This is why you're freaking passive. This is you rise on Netflix and chill and go to gym or something like that, right? Or implement the strategy. Instead of implementing the strategy, you just give you a next pill. aka next new information. This is exactly, guys. You have to understand it that you were manipulated by this system. And then you have to try, before you pick up really expensive courses, before you pick up anything, try to do something simple. Try to do something simple and implement it. Try to, like a small information, and try to implement information. Every single day. For example, you learn a new language, right? For myself, I learn Korean right now. And for example, you implement and you try to do it every single day a little bit like 5 10 minutes. What is made of, you will implement it. You will implement this knowledge. And when you're also thinking it and not talking it, then you're implementing it. And when you're also writing it, maybe. I'm writing mine always from a tablet. And so on. When you're doing those kind of things, these tiny things, then you can kind of grow up and see, okay, cool, I can kind of comprehend towards this thing. But the thing is, when you try to master something, keep on doing it. It's not about your motivation, it's not about anything, it's all about just be consistent. But I know it's really hard in our own society. If you see something new, something more better, that it looks like better, that you go there immediately. For those guys, see who's the best in this niche, the number one in this niche, and just try to do what she does. And after you kind of implement this kind of way of thinking, what this person does, you can also start off, maybe buy some courses of this person, just to pay back, So rule of reciprocation. You can just use it. Then, because you already know, you started to implement it. As Tony Robbins said, in our society, it is not the lack of resources, but the resourcefulness, guys. It is not about what you know, what you don't know. It's about how you use what you know, what you don't know. So you have true results, not just this results. Okay, I know now this thing, I know this information, but I don't implement it. Nothing will happen, guys. As far as you don't implement what you learn, you will stay where you are forever. I'm guaranteeing you guys, when you don't do what you learn, you will stay forever where you are. You will see it on a bank account, on the numbers. You will see it in the place you live. You will see it with the people you hang out. Maybe the people we hang will change. However, your information, your whole world maybe also might a little bit change, but your whole economic situation won't. Because you simply don't implement it. Implementation is the key, guys. It's not about what you learn, but it's about how you implement it. And I tell you, learning is doing, is implementing, guys. Learning is not just picking up information one after another. This is why I feel some people are just stupid, who are just, okay, I learn like I read like 200 books a year. How many of those techniques that you've learned have you implemented into your life? 0. Cool that you're wasting your time by bombarding your brain with new information. Of course, you might have a more wider spectrum of what you can see, you might kind of expand your consciousness. But it's not really true growth because there's no implementation. I hope you're thinking about it, guys. So, Reshaper, I hope you have an awesome day. Comment, box down below what's something I've picked so far. I do this videos close to every single day, so make sure to subscribe to this navigation, share for friends as always. Do not let yourself to passion now. See you maybe tomorrow.